certain and followers, if you will, to borrow the word from Sherry earlier. It takes a process. It takes a germination process, right? You plant that little seed and you wait for that process to take place and then to emerge out of the ground and then in due course become that big tree that bears fruits. So that person is patient with that process. That person understands that it's not going to happen just like that. You want to train people. You want to help them to become leaders. You want to instill in them values that are worth and or values that can change societies, can change individuals, and so forth and so on. It takes a process. So we have to be patient with that. And earlier it was mentioned that the relational meetings that should take place between people, right? Oftentimes that's where relationships break. You know, theoretically everybody understands what they need to do. But when you take it to the application level and you take it to the ground, only few survive. Only few have that patience. They have a profound trust. People trust them a whole lot. You know, I'll use the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ as an example. When he first received the first wahy or first inspiration, and when he was to confront his people to deliver that message, one of the things that he said when he asked people to gather was, or one of the statements that he made was, that الرائد لا يكذب على أهله or على قومه. That the person who's sent to do what the Somalis call sahan, you know, like when people are in a nomadic society, what they do is, if they want to move from point A to point B, they send somebody to explore the territory, the new territory. Are there any hostile people there? Is it really land worthy of moving to, for example? And that person who performs the sahan has to have certain qualities. You can't just send anybody and say, hey, by the way, why don't you just go to the next village or next territory and check for us if it is worthy, because now you're risking the whole people. They're moving from point A to point B. If there is a group that's hostile to this particular tribe or a particular group of people or community, that the whole community is at risk. So the person who does that has certain qualities. And these are qualities that are based on trust. That individual has to be a trustworthy individual. You can't just send anybody, because that person might take a shortcut and might bring you news that will endanger everybody. So trust, profound trust. And the person has to be led by selfless motives. See, even in leadership, you will find a group of people that function within that setting, within that system, but are driven by what I would describe, for lack of better word, selfish intentions. Meaning I want to become that executive, that top figure within the company. So I'll be performing good and I'll become a good leader because it has its own rewards. It has both its intrinsic and extrinsic rewards. So therefore I have a motivation to do that, to become a good leader. So still, at the end of the day, I have a selfish motive to do that. Transformational leaders don't have selfish motive to do that, because they could be ending up losing in the process as individuals and win as a community or as a society. That's why the individuals that we talked about, some of them had to go through a lot of suffering. And oftentimes in their initial stage, people don't even believe them. People don't even think it's doable what they're talking about. They don't believe them until they see some results. And then when they see the results, everyone tends to join them. You know, because everybody loves success, right? Success has 1,000 fathers, they say, and failure is a what? An orphan. right? No one wants to claim failure. But success, everyone wants to say, hey, I was there. I was part of this. I believe in the same causes or the same values. I have the same values as such and such. So they are centered, they are anchored by God consciousness or a divine motive. That the person has always something that's driving them that's bigger than what the average person sees. A bigger cause. That's why he or she can do without the rewards that come with successes. They don't want to see it right now. They don't have to see the result of it right away. And oftentimes they understand the value of delayed gratification. I don't have to collect everything right now. So there will be a time when the results would show. When these individuals would be mentioned as we are mentioned, history would remember them, if not for anything else. The values that they left behind will be something that each person inherits and takes it as one of their own. They have a profound knowledge base about the environment that they are in, the conditions socially, politically, economically. They have a wider view than the average leader would. That helps them in their decision making. Because if you really don't understand everything that's surrounding you, all the challenges that you're facing or the society is facing, how can you make certain decisions? You can't. They understand also group dynamics. And they understand what's called ethics of disagreement. Very critical. You bring people together. You don't have a guarantee that they will all work together. They could be individually the most effective individuals. But once you bring them together, chemistry takes toll on people. You will see people who are grown-ups, who are individually otherwise decent human beings, and now look at each other like, I cannot work with this person, I cannot work with that person. Some would tell you, and those are much better than the ones that would not tell you. At least the ones that tell you, you would know how to deal with them. The ones that don't tell you, who would act negatively because they're working with certain individuals, are too many. And that's what hinders progress within companies, within communities, within societies, within nations, and so forth and so on. So the ethics of disagreement, which means, in essence, you can disagree with a person, but you don't have to transgress against the person. And there are certain limitations on how you address these issues there are boundaries, I should say, on how you address, and when do you address, and where do you address these issues of disagreement. Because in some cases, if you just confront a person in public on issues of disagreement, that might get you a negative reaction, for example. Just to give you one example. So where, when, and how, all of that matters in disagreements. So the person who's a transformational leader is a mindful person of all of these dynamics. And the transformational leader has a certain quality that oftentimes leaders don't have. They're gentle in their approach, and they're humble. Why is that necessary? Why is that necessary? To be gentle and to be humble. Yes. Very good. Very good. Yes.